Hey, welcome back. So now let's deal with the homepage images here. We want to be able to change this at will and so on. So there's a limited number of images here, and it's a good idea to keep them to a minimum because once this thing loads, it loads these images as well. So that can be pretty heavy for mobile devices. So it's better to keep them to a minimum and not add any more, but you can add as many as you want, of course. Now for us, we're going to limit this number to whatever is already here, which is 4 items. So let's create a table to house this information. Now here we're going to need 3 things: the image itself, then there's a title, and there's a description. So we can add 3 columns to cover each one of those items in there. Now at this point we have, let's say we are creating classes. For example, here we are doing category model. Now the reason we are doing this is because our controllers can also become classes with the same names, okay, as I mentioned earlier. This is why at some point you find that you may have a problem because, for example, let's see, this one is course model, right? So this one is course model here, but if it was just course, ideally we just want it to be the course model without having to mention the word model itself. So the problem is that I may have a course page, like here I have a list of courses, right? So if I click on one of these, the single page that it goes to will be known as course, because it's a single course that we're going to. So that, because it's going to need to be a class, a controller class though, because that's the page name. Each page name has a class name as well, has a class. So now we're going to have a conflict where there is course, which is the model itself, and then there is course, which is the controller. And then if both are loaded, it's not going to know which one to actually load, which one you're talking about. When you create a new course, it will try to create a new controller, which will be a problem. Now I can show you that in a minute. So if we go to the home.php and then I grab everything here and copy, go to controller, say new file, and paste in here. And this will be the course page. So I'm just going to change this to course like this, and so now I have a class named course which will represent the single course. Now therein lies the problem, because now I need to create a course model, and if this one wasn't named course model, we would have a problem. So right here, let me go to, let's try and change this. Let me do this. Let's say new course like this. Now if I do this, it's going to try and create this guy right there, which will be a problem. So let me go to the course model itself and rename it so that we can clearly see the problem here. I will change this to course like this, course.php, and also change course model from that. Now I've used this site-wide, so I'm just going to try and search in all folders, all files. To search everywhere, you can say find and find in files. I want to find course model right here, and then it will tell me which files it can be found in. And so it's in the admin, it's in the home.php. 3 matches across 3 files, and in the course.php. So let's fix all those. Let's start with, so this one is in find results, so we can keep this here. So admin.php, there we go. It should be online, what does it say? Online 33. So let's try 33. It's right here. So I'm going to remove this from there, okay, so that it remains as course. The course model itself, I'm just going to remove that, so that, oops, no, this is the category model, so sorry about that. One thing at a time. Okay, this one is the course, single course class, and the course model itself, I will rename that like this. So it matches the table a bit more. Let's go back to results. So we have changed it in the admin, we've changed it here, but not on the home page. So let's go to the home controller and remove course model from there. So it's just new course like this. Okay, so the results are done. Let me close that. Now if I try to load this page, I'm going to, oh, so far no problems yet. Okay, that's because I haven't loaded the courses page itself. So now let me go to course. At this point, what happens is when, oh yeah, the courses model is not loaded. So now let's try and load it. I'm just going to say course right in the URL there and press enter, and then we're going to have problems. So here it's telling me call to undefined method course where. So where is this? This is happening inside the controller course online 18. Controllers course online 18. So there's a problem there. So let's go there. Controllers course online 18 right here. So it's telling me that there is no where clause. There is no where function. This is what it's saying. It's saying call to undefined method course. So it's, oh wait, course what? Course where. So when it shows you something like this, it's saying this is the class and this is the function it's trying to run, and it can't find this function here, the where function, that one. But if you check in the courses class, the where function is there. So what's happening? What's happening is that when I say course is a good new course, it's recreating itself. It's instantiating itself because this is the course class after all. So how is it to know that you're not talking about this one, but talking about the one in models? Because they have exactly the same name. So that creates a little bit of a problem, but we can fix this problem. And we'll fix this with a solution I've been trying to avoid because it makes things a little bit complex, but I think we can move to that next level now. So we're going to use namespaces instead. So namespaces are just like folders. Think of them as folders. So the way PHP runs is this. There's scope here. So when you're running your code like this, outside this class, just in this file like this is known as the global scope. Okay, then if you're inside a class, this is a different scope. This is why you can have a function in here with the same name as a function outside here, and it won't be a problem because this function is in a separate scope as this function outside here. So you can have function index here, no problem, and have another function index in here, and there will be no conflict. This is why we use classes. That way you can have functions that do the same thing in one class, and then other functions that do the exact different things in another class, and they can be named exactly the same thing. Now, in the same way we are doing that, we can do that with classes themselves, because at some point you also run into a problem where class names become similar, like in our case right now. So we're going to have namespaces. Now the namespaces change the scope from one area to another. So it's kind of like having different folders so that you can have the same class in here. So for example, if right now I just try to say class course like this, okay, so I declare another class. There's class course here and another one here. This will cause me an error because it will say cannot declare class course because its name is already in use. Okay, so this name is already in use, so I can't redeclare it again here. But if I use a namespace, I can do this and say namespace model like this. So I can name the namespace anything I want. So in here I'm just, maybe let's name it models or something, or just model is fine. So now this, from this point on down here, we're in a different namespace. So it's possible to have this class and that class work together because they are practically in a different space completely. So this will cause an error though, because namespace should be the first thing you type, but let's just see what happens. So namespace declaration statement has to be the very first statement or after any declare call. Okay, great. No problem. Let's move it up to there. Wait, let's try here, shall we? I'm going to try that. Yeah, still complaining. Let me cut that and let's paste it there. So it has to be the first statement up there. So let's refresh. Okay, so it's still telling me cannot declare because they're still in the same namespace, which is namespace model. But I can shift this into another namespace, which maybe is controllers. Okay, like this. So controller namespace, this one is in the model namespace. So now these two classes are in a completely different space altogether. So if I now refresh, you see that we don't get that error anymore saying you cannot redeclare. The only problem is now we cannot find the function, the class that we want to instantiate, but we can fix that problem, no worries. So this is what namespaces do. That way we can have two classes in the same project, but because they're in different namespace, they can still work together. So we will need to change a few things because of this, but that's fine. So what I'll do is I can put these guys, these controllers, in a different namespace called controller, and then put the models in a different namespace called model. So let me cut this because this is a controller. So I'm going to remove this and remove everything here that we have messed up and put namespace controller. That way we have this guy in that namespace, since that's a controller. So what I'll do is every controller now should have a namespace of controller. Let's do that real quick. Okay, and this one already has that. Boom. Yes. Okay, let's come down here. Silence is golden. Okay, good. Controller, and this one as well, controller, and this one as well, controller. So this will be the norm from now on. This way, because we've added these guys in a different namespace, we can now run models in a different namespace as well. But for now, let's go to models as well and give them a different namespace as well. Now we don't need to do that. We can have these controllers in different namespace. Then it means these models are free to run rampant. But in case you're going to bring in new classes from other people that have also created classes to use, it's better to just have everything in its different namespace. So I'll copy this as well. So now every model here should be in the model namespace. Let's do that quickly. Let's do that. Then we're going to change all these names one by one until everything is good. So price model. Let's save. User model. Let's save. Okay, there we go. So we are in a different namespace now. Now this will present a problem because when declaring a new, let's say we're on the home page, right? Now instead of just saying course is equal to new course, this means I'm looking for a class in the main namespace, but there's no longer a course in the main namespace, a course class. The one that we created, especially the one we're looking for, is in the model namespace. So now I need to write model. The slash should be on this opposite side, not like this, but like this. So once I do this, then it will find this guy. But before I do that, let's see what errors we shall get. Let's go to just the home page for now. And okay, so warning, require failed to open file. So controller. So it has failed to find this file. Now remember that the autoloader now is looking for, it grabs when it supplies the class name. Remember this. I hope you remember this. Where is this? Inside the init. there's this autoloader here. This loads models when they are lost. If it can't find a class, we told it to look inside the app here and then find models and then look for that class name. Now, class name this time doesn't just come with the class name, it comes with the namespace as well. We can see this if I echo like this. I echo the class name like that. If I refresh, you see now that the class name is no longer just controller, it's looking for controller/controller because that's its namespace. So what we need to do is just split these guys and ignore this thing here and just deal with this part over there. So because when we have lost we are trying to find a class, we always want to find it in here. So what I'll do here is just say class name is equal to, let's explode this like that, and then the class name itself, let's paste there. Now as you can see, there's something weird going on here because this slash, unfortunately, whenever you put a slash like this, you are invalidating the next character here. So this one becomes a literal character and not part of the system. So that's what this does. So in order to have just one slash like this, you have to put two of them actually. So this one will escape this one and render it invalid so that it cannot affect this one. It's kind of weird, but that's how you do it. So here I'm just telling it to find a single slash like this, but I have to put two because slash is a special character. So once I explode this like that, the class name will be sent into parts. So let me just do parts like this, but I just want the very last part, which is the actual class name. So what I'll do is I'll say class name is equal to end. The end function just gets the last item in the array, or you can use pop, it will do the same thing. Array pop like this, array pop will do exactly the same thing. So class name now becomes good to move with. So let's see if that will work. So it does find oh wait, array pop argument 1 must be type of array. Okay, why isn't it an array though? Okay, let's see what's happening. Let's print readable parts. This is one error I did not expect, so let's refresh. Okay, yeah, so there's a controller. What's happening? Oh, sorry, my bad. This is what happens when you're coding for too long. Look at that. So the parts, that's what I was supposed to add there. Okay, back to reality. Okay, so now warning, require models controller failed to open stream because it's looking for controller.php. Okay, that's what it's looking for, that class. Where is that controller class anyway? It's right here, called controller. Why is it being looked for anyway? Okay, so what's happening is that now it cannot find the controller classes. So we told it that if it cannot find the controller class, it should look for it in the models. Any class that isn't found should be looked for in the models. We could change this so that once we find, we use the namespace to find it, but no need for that. What we can do is, let's go to app. The problem is here, it cannot instantiate this class here, because when you want to instantiate a class, you have to include its namespace. Now remember that, or here where we're saying my controller is equal to this new controller. Okay, now this is some text, right? So what we would need to do is, wait, this method, this control. When we are creating this, we should write that this is in the controller namespace. Like this. Okay, so let's try that and see if that works out. Oh, unexpected. Okay, we need to create this string into something better.